everyone, it's Holly, and I love a good trope. I am a trope lover. There are definitely some tropes that I will just like eat up those books. I will just buy them when you say that they have them. And I talk about them a lot. I have a whole series on my channel where I've talked about tropes. I've recommended books with various tropes, tropes I've liked, tropes I don't like as much. And while I try to be pretty positive on my channel, you know, I wanted to talk about tropes I don't like in one place. But to put a positive spin on it, I'm going to still try to give book recommendations that worked for me, even though I don't like these tropes. So the first one, is Unrequited Love. This is probably one of my least favorites, and it's probably also one of my most like divisive opinions, or the most contrary opinion. I think a ton of people like Unrequited Love. To me, this is the teardrops on my guitar trope. I did do a specific video on this one, and I get why it's popular. I never, or almost never, believe the romance. Also, often the piner, so the person who's always kind of like been in love with somebody, is often defined by their love of that other person, and it feels like they don't have any other personality or life experiences or anything to connect to, and I just need more in my characters. Let's talk some recommendations. So my first one is The Secret Diaries of Miss Miranda Cheever by Julia Quinn. Now, it has been a long time since I read this, but I remember it being one of the first unrequited love stories that actually worked for me, and I definitely want to reread it. I want to reread this whole series. It's kind of, I think, my favorite Julia Quinn series. Not that the Bridgertons isn't good, it is, but I think this one is better. Next is Seduce Me at Sunrise by Lisa Kleypas. Now this one is a little different because in this one you have both characters kind of pining away for each other, but because of society's expectations, they feel they can't be together, so instead they're just like mopey separately. So does it really count? I don't know. I'm counting it. And lastly is The Ugly Duchess. And this one I think does a really good job of showing the like pining type character having her own like growth and her own personality and self. Now what you'll notice is these are all historicals. I have not found a contemporary romance with unrequited love that was like a home run. So if you have any recs and you think I might like them, leave them down below. The next trope that I cannot stand and I think might be my least favorite is the secret baby trope. Ooh. Now, I am not a fan really of surprise pregnancies either, but secret babies are particularly annoying to me. The reason I don't like surprise pregnancy is because it typically involves people not having sex responsibly, not discussing birth control. And I think in a contemporary setting, it is appropriate and it is almost necessary to have those discussions. You can still have failed birth control if you want to do a surprise pregnancy book. That's fine, whatever. But it really bothers me that we just like don't talk about it. We should be talking about these things in real life and in fictional life. Pretty sure I've talked about this before. But my big issue with secret baby books is that I almost inevitably end up hating the woman. And that is because she doesn't tell the man that she had a baby. And I think that that is horribly inappropriate. Every man has a right to know that he fathered a child, in my opinion. Even if you think he's going to be the shittiest dad, if we're talking about real life, now this is a romance, so obviously that's like not the case. But even if you think that, he still has a right to know. If he really is a shitty person, and that means you need to go to court and like get their rights taken away, and that like, that's a whole conversation to be had. But every man should have that opportunity. And I don't know if I feel this strongly because I was a extreme oopsie baby. I was a failed birth control oopsie baby. My parents were barely together. They broke up before I was born. But I cannot imagine my life without my dad. I love my mom, do not get me wrong, but my dad and I are incredibly close. And I cannot imagine what my life would be like if my mom did not give him the opportunity to be in my life and to step up. So I think that's why I kind of have an issue with this. Maybe it's a personal problem. I don't know. But I do know that this is not a, like, this is a trope that a lot of people have an issue with. So, some recommendations. 3 recommendations. So one is Bountiful by Sarina Bowen. And the next one is Lies and Lullabies by Sarina Bowen. And the reason these 2 worked for me is, 1, Sarina Bowen is a goddess, and 2 is because she does a really good job of explaining why the woman was never able to tell the man she was pregnant. It's a legitimate, understandable reason that makes me not angry at her. Also, it's not forever. I've read a couple where the kids are like teenagers, and that just really makes me sad and angry. And the last one, this one I feel weird because it's not really obvious in the synopsis, so, you know, but it is a book in the Sins for All Seasons series by Lorraine Heath. And she approaches this in such a different way than I had ever read before, and in such a heartbreaking way, in a beautiful way. So good. So good. And the third trope that I really don't like is the brother's best friend. That's like basically my like big catch-all, but it could be like any sibling or whatever. And this often does have an unrequited love element to it, so I'm sure that's part of why I don't like it. I think I've done a whole video on this one as well. I specifically hate overprotective big brothers. I'm of the opinion that consenting adults can make their own decisions, you know, and a brother shouldn't have any say in that. Like, I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. And like, if you think that your like best friend isn't good enough for your sister, then why are they your best friend? Like, if they're that shitty of a person, you know? And like, I have a brother, and he, like, I can't imagine him ever saying stuff like this to me, like I've read in some of these books. I just can't imagine him ever doing or saying anything like that. Recommendations. Yeah, this one I don't have any. If you have any, leave them down below. The closest I could think of is kind of a spin on this, and that is in the Addicted and Calloway Sisters series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I guess you could argue the Daisy Reich books because, well, Lo is like Reich's brother, but also he's kind of like a brother to Daisy in that like they grew up together, and he is pretty protective of her, but he's never, in my opinion, over the top, and his protectiveness is not glorified. It's almost done in a way to expose his own failures and his own faults, because he thinks he has done bad things, and so he's trying to protect other people because of his own character failures. And so I can appreciate that, but that's like the closest I can come to, and I don't even think that that really fits in, so you know. But if you have any recs that you think I might like, feel free to leave them down below. So those are my thoughts on some popular tropes that I don't like, but I did provide some recommendations. I tried, you know, I'm trying to be open-minded. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!